Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is now claiming that one of his security guards that he pulled off for Tupac Shakur that night in Vegas actually delivered Tupac Shakur's ashes to Afeni Shakur.
There was a security guard that worked for Right Way Protective Services by the name of James Green, y'all. I've told the story many a time. James Green is the one that came, picked up the ashes from me, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and I are the one that went and picked up the ashes from the crematory in Vegas. James came to Suge's house where I was at, picked up the ashes, and James got on the plane and flew and took the ashes to Afeni Shakur.
He delivered the ashes, but failed to protect Tupac after Suge Knight requested 5 more security guards to protect Tupac that night.
Tupac and Alexander are alone in a crowd with no radio or weapon.
I think this needs to be let out. To me, that's the beginning of our downfall.
I don't own Right Way Security. I work for Reggie. There should have been more security with us. I had already asked you and told you that we needed more bodyguards on Pac. I asked for more security. He goes, well, what happened to Michael Moore? He was with you that day. I said, he was called to go back over to 662. And every answer I gave Suge was answers that Reggie should have been giving Suge or Suge should have known. So then Suge says to me, he says to Reggie, he goes, Reg, he goes, what's up? What was the breakdown in security? And Reggie was like, and Al was a supervisor, and now here's the finger being pointed again.
This is sickening. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like some cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you would like to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of the Straight Game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is at it again. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., after failing to send security to protect Tupac on the night that he was assassinated, or shot, should I say, and died approximately 6 days later, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. failed to protect Tupac through his company, Right Way Protective Services. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. Failed to obey a direct order from Suge Knight to send 5 more security guards to protect Tupac on that night.
And Reggie pulled them off of me. And after it happened, I told him to send 5 guys from the club today, and they never said nobody.
Tupac fired Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. because Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was a chatty patty. And Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. would go back and tell Tupac's business through his security guards who were protecting Tupac. He would go back and tell everything. That's just who he is, as you can see from his history, if you will. That's why I call him Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., among other things that he's basically told us that should have been things that should have been left confidential, if you will, right? And so Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is now saying that he was the one to go pick up Tupac's ashes from the crematorium, which I don't believe. He can't prove it. He has no proof, right? He was the one to do that. Now, all of a sudden, I've never heard this before, right? And the ironic part, he couldn't send the 5 security guards to protect Tupac that night like Suge asked him. But now he's claiming that one of his security guards that worked for him, he ordered them, or they were the ones, this guy, this individual, was the person who actually delivered Tupac Shakur's ashes to Afeni Shakur. Don't you find that ironic? He couldn't send 5 security officers to keep Tupac alive, to protect him and do his job like he was supposed to, like Suge Knight asked him. But he could send one of his security guards to actually take Tupac's ashes to his mother. Amazing. And Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. somehow thinks that this makes him look like somebody who Tupac was fond of, or he was fond of Tupac. That is simply not true. Tupac did not like Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. because Tupac felt like that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. Was a fraud, if you will. That's why Tupac fired Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. on August 27th, 1996. And approximately almost 2 weeks later, Tupac is shot in Las Vegas. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur for, number one, failing to protect him through his company. And like I said, I explained to people always say, well, if Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was fired by Tupac, how did he fail to protect Tupac? Well, let me explain to you again. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was hired by Suge Knight as security for Death Row. Tupac did not want Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. as his personal security anymore, so he sent out this fax, firing Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. as his security for any personal matters involving Tupac Shakur. He did not want nothing to do with Reggie, didn't want him around him. He could not trust Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was a chatty patty and would speak on Tupac's business in relation to what he was doing through his security, among other things. But most importantly, when it came time to handle the business that Suge Knight asked him to, remember, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. was still employed by Death Row. So when it was that Suge asked Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. to send 5 more security guards, right, to protect Tupac that night, and Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. did not send anybody, he disobeyed a direct order, and through disobeying that direct order is complicit in the negligence, his negligence through his company in the death of Tupac Shakur. So now Jada Pinkett talks about being at Jasmine Guy's house in her book, and how somebody came and dropped the ashes off, right? Now all of a sudden Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. has to impute himself in the story, saying, I went to pick the ashes up. And then it was one of my security guards from Right Way Protective Services that got on the plane and delivered the ashes to Tupac's mom. And then he talks about how much they were calling him, how Afeni and them were calling him, asking him when would the ashes get there, and so on and so forth. He has the audacity, man. Are you kidding me? As if they were, getting on his nerves or something like that, by calling and asking where her son's ashes were, right? But the ironic thing is that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. would basically now brag about, the security guard from my, security firm was the one that took the ashes there. Are you kidding me? Tupac would not have been in ashes form in a box coming from a crematorium if Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. had sent the 5 security guards like he was supposed to. Y'all have to understand that. Right? And all Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. keeps on doing is making excuses, and he keeps on trying to attack people who were close to Tupac, who knew Tupac, right? And who Tupac loved. And that one of those people was Jada Pinkett. Jada don't have to lie about nothing like that. Jada Pinkett knew Tupac before Tupac was Tupac. That the world knew. When they used to eat syrup sandwiches together. You understand what I'm saying? And so for Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. to now try to jump on this Tupac sympathizer bandwagon, right? It's disingenuous at best. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. can't even accept responsibility for the fact that he tried to enter the narcotics trade. Something that when he was a police officer, he used to lock people up for. The hypocrisy of the statement that he made on Boss Talk 101. He can't even accept responsibility and claim that, he would never do what he did again based on the consequences.
It's unfortunate how we money back quarterback what we would do now. It's a lot of things I would do different. I wouldn't have sent marijuana in packages across state line if I knew what was going to happen to me.
Are you kidding me? This is coming from a former police officer.
Was it this case where we were
No, I was still working as a cop, though.
Was it this case where we were
No, I was still working as a cop, though.
Where we were
You knew the consequences, but yet you decided to participate in illegal activity. He's a failed drug dealer. He's a failed money launderer. He's a failed police officer. And he's never succeeded at anything that we know of. So now, all of a sudden, Jada Pinkett comes out with her book. And according to Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., she's now lying. I'm not even going to say that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. is lying about picking up Tupac's ashes from the crematorium. I don't know. But I don't believe him. You know what I mean? I just don't believe him. I don't know if he's lying, and I personally just don't believe him. I found Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. to be a liar in a numerous amount of stories that he's told and that he's tried to come out and hijack. You understand what I'm saying? But like I said once again, he's trying to now attach himself to Tupac's ashes. I was the one that went to pick up Tupac's ashes from the crematorium. But the fact of the matter is, when it came to protecting Tupac on September 7th, 1996, Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. failed Suge Knight. He failed Death Row. He failed Tupac Shakur. And that was another failure in a long line of failures as a police officer, as a drug dealer, and as a money launderer. He's 0 for 4. So I just wanted to bring you this because, like I said, I find it very disingenuous when Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. comes out and speaks on certain situations when somebody else comes out and speaks about it. Like I said, I'm not sure of the accuracy of Jada Pinkett's story, but I know Jada Pinkett don't have to come out and lie about no Tupac. She shared letters and poems and all of this stuff 20 some odd years later that we didn't even know existed, that Tupac had wrote her. Right? She didn't have to do that, but she did. So now, what is Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. going to say? That's not Tupac handwriting. You see? So once again, the clout chase never ends. And once again, the failure is always trying to attach himself. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., the failure, is always trying to attach himself to somebody else's success. You see, one minute he's talking about Suge, favorably when it benefits him, but then the next time he's talking about Suge, he's calling Suge a rat. You see what I mean? So whenever it's beneficial or advantageous to Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., he's with it. Cut him a check, he'll say anything on camera. I need you to understand this. And so, like I said, once again, the audacity to now try to, I was the one that, I went to pick up Tupac's ashes. Tupac didn't want you touching his ashes. You couldn't protect that brother in Las Vegas that night. You couldn't get away from your pettiness and your hate and your jealousy of Tupac for just being who he was. And when Suge asked you to do that, you did not do it. That's from Suge Knightmouth himself, man. You can't get around that. You can't call Suge enough names for us not to believe that Suge asked you to do that and you did not send anybody. Frank Alexander, Michael Moore. Once again, like I said, that's 3 people saying the same thing. And so, like I said, at the end of the day, please be careful about the information that you receive and believe. Like I said, the clout chase is really on, man. Now I picked up the ashes and I was concerned about Tupac. No, he wasn't. He was jealous of Tupac. He didn't like Tupac. And Tupac fired him. Period. And he put his name, not just fired him, but Tupac actually wrote his name on the fax to let it be known that he wanted nothing to do with Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. So I need you guys to know that. So when somebody comes out like Jada Pinkett, who Tupac knew and loved, and they might have had their, disenchantment and things because they were friends and they really cared and loved each other. And Tupac said as much, right? Your boy Delray, straight gang.